we will try to answer a tricky question today. This question is, what does it take to go big in deep tech? We have different panelists that I will introduce you to discuss this interesting topic. I'm Thomas. So in the past 9 years, I've been supporting innovative companies, innovative entrepreneurs. I love to talk about the men and women behind the project. And it's really, to be honest, a dream job, a very interesting job. Many of these entrepreneurs had or still have really a revolutionary deep tech project. And don't be afraid, but I fell a kind of in love with some of them because this is really passionate people. These are people that I admire, and because they have powerful convictions and they have an amazing stamina. So this was to introduce me and to say why I am very happy to promote. My job is to promote this wonderful and vibrant region, the Paris region. This is the first European economic region. More than anyone else, these specialists are really focused on supporting deep tech businesses, accelerating them. They will be presented soon. First, Suat TOPSU. He's founder and CEO of OledComm, who invented LiFi. He's also president at SAT IDF Innov, which is a kind of super transfer technology office. He will present it. So first of all, can you pitch, please, OledComm in a one sentence to pitch OledComm to everybody?
Okay. Yes, it works. So, in fact, I'm a professor at the University of Paris-Saclay. So I spend a lot of time in research, and what I observed is that most of our time as a scientist, as a researcher, we make some research, we make some publications, and then once the publication is done, we change, we rebuild another research, and so on. So after 8 years of this kind of work, I said, okay, it doesn't make sense. We need to go further. We need to do something that could be used by people, not only publications, not only papers, not only conferences. And at this time, I was working, so telecommunication was not my skills. My skills was more in, quantum physics. So I was in a meeting with car manufacturers, and we said, okay, we need car-to-car communications. And it was in 2005, 2007, and it was also the time where you could see the first LED light cars. And I said, okay, why you need to put Wi-Fi on cars? You have light, you have LED, so just make them blinking, and you can send information. So we started like this in 2007. We made the first prototype in 2009, car-to-car communication using light. And in 2011, I worked with Intel in the United States to create the first standard, visible light communication standard, that we call today LiFi. And in 2012, I created this company, startup, in order to transfer this technology to the market. So.
Thank you very much, Suat. It's also time to present Karima. Karima is the International Scientific Partnership Manager at CEA List. Can you tell us in one sentence this time, what is CEA for the people who don't already know?
It's a long story. CEA is a big French research center, that was created in 1945 by the General Charles de Gaulle at that time for very specific reasons, but I won't go into this right now. For the people who are here, I think the most interesting part is that CEA Tech, and specifically List, who I work for, is what we call a research and technological organization. So our work is to develop technology, to provide innovation, and to transfer that technology to the industry, but also to create value, to create startups, to work with them and make them grow and go bigger.
Thank you very
in
much.
one sentence.
Yes, it was a long but very good sentence. Thank you very much. Karl, can you also present yourself? Karl GEDDA from Systematic Paris region.
Hello, so I'm an expert at Systematic, which is a cluster and where I do two things actually. I'm in charge of coordinating actions with concerning photonics, which is the use of the light, like OledComm do. And also I'm working on a program which is called DeepTech for Good, which is accelerating startups and helping them to grow within Europe. And for this reason, we are connected with Baden-Württemberg, Austria, and Catalonia to make startups grow on these markets.
Thank you, Karl. This is a nice also presentation. So today we are talking about DeepTech, and first of all, I would like to ask you your personal, I say personal, definition of DeepTech. It was a buzzword the last month or year, and we want to understand why. Why is it such an important word, and what is your personal definition? So, Karl, you told me interesting things. Please.
Okay. So I'll continue. Our program, DeepTech for Good, started 2 years ago now, nearly. So we were just a little before the buzz. We saw the weak signal. We took the definition from Swati Chaturvedi, she's the CEO of an investment platform. She's the one who made the definition. For us, following her definition, deep tech is something coming from deep inside science. So it's really a deep dive with heavy and hairy technology, and it's a deep dive in the future. It's also technology which is structuring, that you don't always see. So it's really deep in the ground of the products.
You had some tricky words to describe deep tech, saying that it's hairy.
Yeah, it's hairy because it's not something which is always easy to communicate on, and it's also kind of complicated technology. It's like explaining photonics, or you can explain AI, but it's more tricky. Everyone has an idea about AI, but not really about what it's doing. It's like deep learning. It's these kind of things. Everyone sees it more like in movies, but not really in what's happening.
So, and Karima, what is your personal definition of deep tech?
Well, it's not my personal definition, but the topics we work on have showed me that deep tech was usually referring to these new technologies that would provide a deep breakthrough in the usage of the technology, but also in the technology itself. How to use new processes that will bring to new usages of something we've been doing for a long time, or something that is already in the society for a very long time, but we are providing a deep change. But it's not only about the technology itself. The deep, to me, applies to the social behavioral, I think, that it will provide after that. But that's my personal definition after that.
Good to know. Excellent. Okay, you also told me recently that it's changed the very heart of the system, not the packaging. And that's related to what you said.
Yes, actually, it's not about changing the shape of the products themselves, but it's about changing the way we think them and the way we create them. And that starts with the process itself that is inside the product or any kind of software tool we can use in everyday life.
Like innovation in innovation, like new ways to innovate, like
yeah,
challenges.
that's another story because there is the innovation of process, there is the innovation of thinking, there is the innovation of technology, there is the innovation of usage. And I think when we talk about deep tech, it has an impact on these different aspects, but in a very deep way, which means that the society itself can have a different behavior as we saw it recently with, for example, social networks that come from an innovation of technology at the beginning.
At the beginning, okay.
And it completely changes the behaviors.
Okay. Suat, what was yours?
So I will give my, of course, personal definition of deep tech. Just to explain, in fact, for people who don't know about LiFi technology consists of using light, so the light you have here. Of course, it needs to be LED lights, and then we make them blinking. We connect this light to internet, we make them blinking, and the light will send the information to your smartphone or to your tablet, and so you can connect devices to internet using the light and not Wi-Fi or 4G and so on. So it's really a new technology, and I was in my lab, and some industrial partners say, okay, Suat, it's useful for us, just put it out of the lab and we will pay for it. And I say, wow, it's easy really to create a company. So I decided to leave the lab and created the company. And then I met some investors and they asked me some business plan, business model. I even didn't know at this time what does it mean, a business plan. And so I said to them, okay, how do you want that I make a business plan? Because the market doesn't exist. I don't have any competitors at this time. So, you know, if you sell, I don't know, a product that that work better than other existing products, it's quite easy. You look to the business plan, business model of a company, and you try to make an added value in order to. But in my case, there's no competitors. There's no similar product. There's no market. There's no need even of the market because people doesn't know that this technology exists. So this is what I call deep technology. So if you don't if you are not able to provide a business plan in few days because you have no comparatives, you have no model already existing, for me this is deep tech.
Of course, a deep tech is a tech that gives birth to a new market. According to you, it's a very good definition too. So considering all these aspects, we all agree. We know that deep tech needs three different things. You need money, because in many cases, like Karl said, there is hardware in it, so it's very capital-intensive technology. It's not a platform with just code. It's more than that. So it needs money. It needs time as well. You need time to make a deep tech grow. And last finding, you need to be persuasive, because this technology needs to find their place on the market, and you need to be really full of conviction and also have endurance to make it happen. So, considering these three findings, three characteristics of deep tech, what would be, you as deep tech experts, your solutions, your advices to tackle these issues? You can't reduce time, you can't make a deep tech without money, but what are your advice to make it until the end and to introduce the technology on the market? So Karl, yes, maybe you told me it was important to be agile but we are agile.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, agile, like any startup must be agile. But how is it important in deep tech for you?
Okay. Well, deep tech is referring to technologies that are usually not on the market, that are not in use. So a lot of time the question is not, are they going to reach the market? They may have some, but when are they going to reach the market? So the agility is really referring to this time to market, because very often the market is not ready. It's like the example we just talked about before getting in. Everyone talks about smart vehicle, connected vehicle, but actually it's really, the technologies are there, but the market is not there. The market is not interesting to have one smart vehicle. What is it interesting through the technology is to have all the vehicles connected one to the other and connected to the equipment of the city, and the city controlling or self-controlling through AI, the cars that are communicated to them and everything. So it means to have like a systemic approach, and very often for deep tech, that's one of the problems. One example of the past that I can use also is the chip, RFID chip. Everyone say, oh, it's going to be really big, but the other technology is still going on at the moment. So it's just like, it really depends how a system is reacting.
Yeah, technology must find their place on the market. Sometimes you have to pivot to change the area of application you have in mind in the beginning to have success. What do you think about it? It's quite usual to pivot as well, but for what reason is it important to be able to pivot when you're a deep tech startup?
Yeah, of course. So I will take of my experience. So I was in lab. We created the first prototype, and then, as I told you, it was really easy to catch the attention of potential customers, potential clients. Why? Because you have this wow effect. I call this the LiFi effect. So when you try to make a deal, first you need to attract the attention. You need to be visible. And if you have a deep tech, it's quite easy because it's new. And when it's new, people are take aware because they need to understand how it could affect their own business. So it's quite easy to catch the attention, but it's very difficult to convert to business. Why? Because after this wow effect, you really need to, from a new technology, create new services useful for people, for clients. And these new services, this is the most complicated part, has to generate new revenues. Because even if you have a deep tech with this wow effect, a good new services, if behind there's no business model that make money, people will say, okay, it's a magic technology, it's a deep tech, and this take a lot of time because each time you will meet customers, they will have an idea and say, okay, we can test this. But test is time is money, and is a lot of effort. So when you have a deep tech, when you start with a deep tech, you really need to focus on niche markets because it's very rare that a deep tech will come and go directly to mass market. So you need to focus to niche market. During this niche market, you will have a legitimate. You will gain in terms of skills, in terms of reputation, and when the time to market will be perfect, then you are on the market and you will grow. So take care about the capital you have raised. Do not raise too much money because that means you will give a lot of shares, and at the end, when the market will be there, you will be diluted and you will lost all your benefits. So it's very difficult because, as I told you, a lot of people are interested by your technology. Even investors are interested by your technology, but the market will take longer time than you think. So.
Excellent. Any thing to
Yes,
add?
I think I will just complete on that. I mean, to get successful through what I saw, because I work with a lot of researchers who have created startups, and we've been there to help them on that. And I think it's a sweet balance between being genius, creative, bold, and very pragmatic too. And everything comes at its time. So at the beginning, it often starts with one idea from one person in one lab. And then if that person is crazy enough to believe in his own idea or her own idea and go for it, then you need to be very pragmatic on convincing people around you to support you, but you also have to be pragmatic on the fact that if you want to survive, you have a market to apply to, you have to be able to sell, to grow, to have a financial strategy, and so on. But for that, I would say that the main point to keep in mind is the customer with the needs. How my technology will answer a real need, and how is it going to make people buy it? Because if you create a technology and there is no need in front, of course, it's harder. If you identify a need and you know that your technology could answer that, then that's the best match. And then in between, you have different steps to work on, and I think that's how you go deep globally.
Yeah, I agree and I disagree. That's what I call agility, because very often there is a market, but the market is not completely ready. I will take, because the technology is having its uses, but the use asks for the people to change their habits, even in business or in production. For example, we have a lot of deep tech startups that are in manufacturing of the future. You know, with a light, you can see any defects, or you can see any origin from an ingredient. You can see that in food there is something that you didn't want. You can see that this vanilla is coming from Madagascar or from another one, another place from the Reunion Island, because it won't have exactly the same signature in front of the light. And for example, for products, for the qualification of products, very often we have deep tech startups joining photonics and artificial intelligence, so using images and deep learning. So it changed the whole quality of service, because quality of service was taking, checking quality of products. They were picking one, destroying it to see if it was good, and if it was good, the 1,000 other ones were going through. Now it's through camera. So it's changing the whole habit of the people there. So the whole quality, yeah, it's changing. And when it's in other places, there it's just small teams. When it goes to bigger teams, then it's even worse, because it's just like you need to train the people. It's disruptive, and it's like changing the whole ecosystem. And that's what we see in the car industry, with Google coming in and chasing the old players and this kind of thing. So.
That's why, in other words, you have to hire a team able to be good in every occasion, in every field of application of your technology. So it's also a question of talent. But yes, Suat.
I just want to add that, of course, when you are in deep tech, you need perseverance. So, but you need to not confuse between perseverance and obstination. So why? Because you spend a lot of time to convince your team, your investors, that we need to go in this direction. And when you go to this direction, you have new information saying, okay, it's not the right way. And now you have two kinds of behavior. The first one will make obstinations, and this is not good. Now you need, we talk about pivot, we need to change your strategy, and you need to do it very, very carefully in order to keep the confidence of investors and of your team. But in deep tech, I met some founders that really make the confusion between perseverance and obstination, and they continue in the wrong way, and of course you know how it finished at the end.
Yeah, I just want to add to that that indeed DeepTech takes a long time, not only because of the technology, but of the use you were talking about. It takes time for people to accept in general. And we have things in our labs that were discovered or developed like 10 or 15 years ago, but the market was not ready and people were not ready. And now it's just booming and it's so fashionable, and to us it's not new, but it's very new for the market. So yeah, it's perseverance and not obstination. I think that's very important.
I would like to hear from you. You know well this Paris region ecosystem, and because you have traveled a lot, you can also compare this ecosystem to others, to other ones. What would be your, I would say, yes, description of the qualities and advantage of the Paris region, and also the missing points of this ecosystem, maybe?
Well, if I start, I would say maybe it's the best one. In Europe at least, because I've been working a lot with the European network and the European innovation and R&D system. And very objectively, I think that the Paris region ecosystem is one of the strongest because, well, the numbers speak for themselves. Paris region is the biggest region, is the highest GDP in Europe. That's a number, that's a fact. And then what is important to keep in mind also is that Paris region has 40% of European R&D in industry.
40% of the European R&D expenditure?
Sorry, the French one.
Okay,
yes,
it's the French
it's here.
one.
Yes, but on the industrial sector, that's what is important to keep in mind, which means that industries, laboratories, universities, schools, and R&D departments of big industry are here in Paris region, and they come here on purpose because of that ecosystem.
We all here and dream to be in the Silicon Valley. Would you have the same dream? Would you also share this dream?
Well, I was there 20 years ago, so it was already the Silicon Valley, and I didn't mention one before, but I was entrepreneur twice, once in California, once in France. No, I think Paris is one of the biggest one. I work with European Commission, the DG Connect, and Paris was ranked #2 last year. London is still in front, but because but Paris has ranked #2 as an ecosystem, but it's more involved with technologies. Now the finance are here also. So we have two things. We have a big market, we have technologies, we have finance. The third thing is this big market is opening, and we have a pool of talent. If you want a Silicon Valley, then it means that you need to raise 3 times as much money, because someone who you pay here like 90,000, you're going to pay in Silicon Valley 200, 400,000. So it's just like it's a catch-22. Maybe you raise more money, but then you spend more money. So it's just so here we have enough talents. I think it's just now it's really opening the market. There's no age. Opening the market, and that's a big hope for Paris region.
You're also president of the SAT IDF Innov, a super TTO, as I say, and so you know well what are the bricks of the ecosystem that connect technology providers to the market. What are the incentives to develop a technology? And could you just tell us what exists behind these organizations?
Okay, so SATT is like very, very early stage investors. So we are about 13 private company with a total budget of more than 900 million of euros. Our job is really to go to the inside the labs to detect deep technologies, and then to help the scientists and also the entrepreneurs to start their business. So that means we will put in place all the network and also, of course, the money needed to start a deep tech project. Why? Because as I told you, when you are in deep tech, it's very risky for conventional investors. So we take this risk very early with the founders, with the scientists, and with the entrepreneurs.
So yes, the SAT acts as a third party, trusted third party that that is quite rare, and this is public. This is money for economic development at very early stage. Thank you.
Yeah, I would just like to add that Paris ecosystem is very interesting because it combines excellency in terms of knowledge and science, and also the right ecosystem for business. So you have them both, and as you said, it's less expensive than Silicon Valley, but the quality is as high or maybe even higher. Okay.
And concerning these customers, last question about the alliances that a deep tech startup has to build, has to take into account to grow. It's for a technology to create its own market. It's quite hard, but so you can have a partnership with a big corporation, a small one, a medium size. What would be your advice and maybe the warnings about this kind of alliances? You wanted? Yeah, you have to be careful when you have a contract with a big corporation. Suat, you discovered this.
Yeah, so you have two strategies. When you have a deep tech, the first things you think is to go to see big companies, Samsung, Apple, and so on, in order to make a deal. But in this case, you have to take considerations about does your technology you bring is core business for them or not? Because if it is really core business for this big company, they will see like a threat. So they say, okay, maybe I need to integrate at 100% the technology. So what is the added value of this entrepreneur that can come to see me with this tech? So sometimes also your technology could affect their own business. So even if it's interesting, they already have a business in place, so they don't want to disturb it now. So it could be counterproductive to try to go to see. Sometimes I suggest to go not to see the first third, but second, third companies, because these companies need innovation to take parts compared to the first one. So they will be more, they will welcome you more with your technology.
Thank you, Suat. This is also, in fact, a very interesting advice.
I'll just add something, as there is no question, maybe I can answer a global question. It's not about threats, but it's more an advice, what to be careful about. Like, as you said, be careful on who you talk to about your business, but make sure you get into the ecosystem, because the ecosystem exists. You have a lot of infrastructures here in Paris region that are here for that, to help, to provide money, to provide support. And when you don't know about them, you miss opportunities, because everybody's in the ecosystem and it's very easy to get in it. You just get into an event, you talk to people, you exchange business cards, you are in the ecosystem. And Paris region is very rich for that.
And it's a supporting ecosystem, not only people you meet and so on. We have different support schemes.
I just had to react because this is our job at Systematic, to animate and coordinate this ecosystem, to put you in link with the right labs if you're not coming from a lab, or to put you in link with major corporation. And it's true what you said. It's really focusing on the challengers, because the top ones, they have nothing to do with your technologies. They're already on the top, so you're just a threat to them. But if you go and see the challengers, or sometimes some innovative SMEs, that is what is easier. This is a drawback, actually, not of Paris region, but of France, is having a lot of major corporations, and major corporations sometimes are a little more risk adverse than mid-cap companies. That's why it's easier sometimes, and that's why we connect with Bad Württemberg. because they have a lot of mid-cap companies. So it helps us to go from a first-row startup to have someone not too big to give the hand to, and then you go back to the major corporation. So it's just like
Thank you to
a nice way of growing.
Thank you to remind us that our region is connected to Europe, and it's just the beginning. Concerning investment, because you probably are here in Hello Tomorrow to get investors, I would like to quickly remind that things are in a very good trend in France. A DeepTech program, national program has started, and it will be a 5 billion euro investment program from both public and private investors up to 2024. This will be a good momentum for coming here and make your DeepTech grow. So you're welcome.